Hey everybody, today I'm going to show you how we grow shiitakes here at Shady Grove Mushrooms. When we're growing on logs, we like to use maple, birch, and oak. Those are some of our favorites. You can use beech, it's just a little bit tougher for a colonization period. It can take up to 2 years. I could tell you or show you how we inoculate, but I think there's plenty of content out there. We usually use sawdust spawn because we do our own spawn, so it just makes it a little more efficient for us. Here is what we call our lay yard. You see some logs kind of racked up around in here. We'll probably do 300 to 400, maybe 500 logs a year, and we'll clean the area out on the ground here and we'll lay our logs on it after we inoculate them. In the springtime, we'll take them, rack them up like we have them right now, and we'll just spray them or just let the rain hit them as it's needed to keep them moist. And then after it's pretty much a year, it's gonna take a year for your logs to colonize. You'll start getting small pins on your logs, and then we'll take them up to the other end of the grove where we force fruit them. But here's some pins right here. So I'll catch you up there. So up at this end of the grove, we have this greenhouse here, and we have this big chest freezer that we can put about 50 logs in. We'll fill that up, and then we'll fill it up with water and leave it for 24 hours. After 24 hours, we take them out, sometimes standing them up, sometimes stacking them crib style. And we'll put tarps over them. And what the tarp does, it keeps the moisture in around the logs, so it's a really good humid environment. And we'll usually spray it for a day or two, and then you'll start seeing pins. So the logs we have here today, I'm going to be picking because they're pretty much ready. The caps are just getting ready to turn up, and that's when you want to pick them. If you wait a little bit longer, they can spore, and if you have a lot of mushrooms tucked on top of each other, when they spore, it'll actually ruin the mushroom below it. So you kind of want to pick them at that stage, and they'll last quite a bit longer. Sorry about that, I just had a hornet on my shoulder. So I'm gonna get to pick it, and I'll show you what we do there too. So when you're picking your mushroom, just kind of reach down close here, take that right off. That's perfect right there. Sometimes you'll have these little guys right here on your shiitakes. And all you gotta do is just flip it over, tap it off. So, decided to bring you guys out here during the winter time. This is one of the biggest questions I get, is what do you do in the wintertime with them? Do I bring them inside? Do I put them in the garage? Do I cover them with hay? All kinds of things, everything you can think of. And the answer to that is no. You can either leave them on the ground or you can stack them up. So the way I've got them right now, as you can see how these guys are. These are the last logs that I fruited for this season. And once I'm done fruiting them, I'll take them and I'll stack them like this so that they can actually get air between them. And the reason being is you want your logs to semi-dry out, not to the point where they're gonna crack and stuff like that. Just enough so that when it comes to the 5th week and it's super dry, it'll absorb the water over that 24-hour period of soaking really fast, and then they'll be ready to fruit. And that's when we put them in the greenhouse under the tarp. This right here, this is how we rack them up for the winter time. It'll be tight, as you can see. We usually do, we have 40-inch logs. So in this style, we stack 7 on the bottom, 7 across. These ones are going to be stacked 4 wide during production use. So I'm gonna actually get the rest of these guys stacked up. As you can see, I'm kind of behind right now, so. So just got those all stacked up. I'll show you what they look like now. So on a quick note, if you're going to be doing logs on this scale of production, make sure that when you're cutting your logs, take a few branches, you know, a couple inches or so in diameter, and make sure to inoculate those. The reason I say this, these stacks are just off the ground, is the mycelium will try to reach out and connect itself, and it'll create a mat which kind of sticks the log to the ground, so we don't want that. This is what those little pieces will do for you right here. When I cut logs, like I said, we'll use mostly maple birch and oak, and you'll get different sizes per log you use, and I'll throw a picture up there to kind of show you that. But when you cut your logs, if you cut them during the winter time and it stays below freezing, those logs can stay there for months. You know, it doesn't bother them as long as it's below freezing, so that you don't have any other bacteria or molds or fungi trying to get into that log itself. So like I said, they can stay as long as it's below freezing. When you inoculate them, you can do it any time of the year, it does not matter, it's just the moisture content. So if it's 90 degrees and it's in July and I'm cutting logs, I'm going to take those logs, cut them to the size I want, which we run again 40 inches, and then I'm going to soak them immediately, and I'll soak them for 24 hours. Once I take them out, then I'll plug them, and that way it has that moisture in it. It doesn't matter at all what time of the year you do it, it really doesn't. So if you're cutting logs in the summertime, we did this just to see what would work, and we cut logs for, I don't know, I think we ran 5 logs for 7 weeks, and it was probably between 80 and 90 degrees out. And so after 5 weeks is when the logs started to contaminate with some type of blue mold, and they just kind of destroyed the log, and then it ended up getting a woody or something growing on it. So summertime, above freezing, springtime, anytime like that above freezing, 5 weeks is the max that you can leave those logs sitting before you plug them. So after that, you can either do what we do and then produce per week. So you can do that with 5 logs. You take 1 log per week and soak it for 24 hours, take it out and fruit it like I showed you there. And that way, at the end of the 5th week, when you come to your 6th week, you're back to your number 1 log you started the 1st week. 5 logs, 5 weeks, turn around, you can get mushrooms each week. You can do just neglect of your logs, and that looks like this. And I'll throw some pictures in there or a video with some fruiting going on. So you can leave your logs on the ground, and you're going to get 13 years out of them, give or take, you know, a year, if that. Your logs that you're producing, we produce for 5 years for our logs. After 5 years, they go around the beds, and at the end of their lifespan, we take them and we toss them right back into the wine cap bed, and the wine cap bed will finish them off, and that's more food for the wine cap. So we really don't waste anything. Our branches that we cut, we chip those up, and those feed the wine cap beds or some other mushroom projects we have going here. So another question I get asked is, you know, what will eat the shiitakes? And the only thing that really gets after shiitakes around here that I've seen are squirrels and chipmunks. You know, we've had deer come through here, but they usually just like the mushrooms that I grow outside on blocks. So yeah, it's pretty much just squirrels and chipmunks. You know, nothing else bothers them around here. Raccoons don't seem to like them or anything like that. So what we did is we put out we built an owl box, and we put that up, and it seems to attract one because we have an owl out here now that he'll fly out of the grove every now and again towards evening or early morning, and he'll hoot out here at night. And we've actually had some hawks move into the area, so that was nice too. That's helped out a lot, but I would say either get yourself a half-a-heart trap or a decent sighted and pellet gun, because if you're going to grow on a large scale, you're definitely going to have some issues with those guys. If I'm using sawdust spawn, I do wax them. I'll drill, plug it, and then I'll put a little bit of wax over the top of that. Doesn't matter what you use for wax. You can use candle wax, you can use paraffin wax is usually what we use. You can use those little wax lips. You can use anything, any type of wax. It doesn't matter. The mycelium does not eat the wax. You don't have to have, you know, $50 little pound of beeswax. Don't need it. Doesn't matter. Old crayons, melt them up, wax her up. It's just to hold the moisture in as needed. Wood dowels, I do not wax them. I just don't. I haven't. I used to until I did a bunch of them and I was tired of waxing. I ran out and I decided to leave like 50 logs or something, and they produced just fine. It didn't matter either way. So there's a few things I want to go over real quick. Once you cut your logs, you can inoculate them immediately. The fungicide that people say is in the log is only under the bark. It's not in the cambium layer. So when you put the plugs in or your sawdust spawn there, it's going past that, so it's not an issue. When you are plugging your logs, if you drop a plug on the ground, you can pick it up and use it. It's not a big deal. It didn't contaminate the plug. Anything that might be stuck on that plug is going to get run over, because outdoor growing is way different than indoor growing. When it comes to a log, a shiitake is a tough son of a gun. They can pretty much outcompete anything in there. Once you plug your logs, that's it. You don't have to do it again. The shiitake will take the log over, and that's it. So never leave your logs leaning up unless you're fruiting them. If you leave them leaning up in the woods, I don't care if they're in the shade or not, the wind's going to dry them out. They're going to crack, and it's going to minimize the life of your logs. If there's damage on your log, if it's some bark that's busted off, it's not a big deal. Put some wax over that. If just say it falls against another tree when you're doing it, or if you're dragging it and you bust a little bark, just cover it in wax. It doesn't bother it a bit, and put some plugs around it. I do the same thing with a branch. If there's a busted off branch or a rotted branch, the mycelium will beat up whatever's there, and it'll actually keep it from getting contaminated by anything else. The question of heartwood is fine. The whole log could be heartwood. It doesn't matter. The shiitakes will hammer right over it, and it doesn't change the lifespan of those logs at all. So red oak versus white oak, it doesn't matter which one you use. People say that red oak doesn't work as good. That's a fallacy. They fruit the same, last just as long. So if you have a red oak tree, go ahead and plug it. It's going to fruit just fine. Well, I guess the last thing I'd like to say on that is just keep your logs in the shade. You know, mist them as they need it, and they're going to last you a long time. Hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.